Hello and welcome to this video review of the much anticipated Listen Adventure by Madeon. This is a very, very exciting intro project for me, being that I've heard Good Faith, and I've been introduced to Porter, and I sort of understand their dynamic and their presence in the music sphere at large, the EDM sphere more specifically. And I've sort of developed this interesting relationship with EDM where before I didn't really consider it something that I would personally enjoy past a casual listen, but it's really become part of my daily, and this project is a contributor to that. Now, this is a very short review. I choose this video format because for some projects, I like to listen to them several times and give them a solid rating before I actually move forward with it, instead of a reaction format. So if you like this format, please like the video. And while you're here, while you're down there already near the like button, there's a subscribe button. Hit that as well. If you feel like abusing the bell, abuse it for me on my behalf. Tell it your boy Marwan sent you. And if you're feeling like checking out some new music, my good friend Henry just put out his debut
EP,
Digital Sex by Toothpaint. I'll leave a link to it down below, so please check it out. I feel like you might just like it, the same way that I've fucking adore it. It's pretty much future punk, so this is a genre label that I invented and I sort of bestowed upon the project Digital Sex. So it's punk, but it's future, bro. I don't know how. You're not gonna love it. Just check it out. It would mean a lot to me. And yeah, let's get right into the review. The album almost instantaneously establishes these very, very solid and nostalgic sounds and uses them as this vehicle to thrust you into a very strange new world. The album hits you with this really, really nice intro. Kind of strange, really, but it takes you right into the meat of the album right afterwards. It already sort of highlights this two-track typology and this thematic experience that this album has through two types of tracks. The featured tracks offer a narrative progression or a narrative development in some way, and the Madeon tracks, which are of course my favorite, you know that I do tend to like the featured tracks less if you're here from my Porter video or you're here from my Good Faith video. I do find that the other tracks sort of solidify a very, very strong vibe and feeling rather than go for this narrative progression, which is perfect because these two tracks need to be present and they both establish different things and they all contribute to this full vibe of the project. I don't know if it's the repeated listens or the fact that there's no pressure to really react to anything, but I found myself enjoying this album to a very, very new level. It's why I'm sort of gravitating more towards making these reviews for special projects, because it elevates my enjoyment value of them so much more and it makes me way less cynical than I really need to be. The keys on a track like Beings continues to set apart Madeon and Porter's style into two very different schools. And I'm beginning to see that more and more as I approach Shelter, which I haven't listened to yet. But I am aware that their creative differences is what led to that track being great, and it is also what led them to not wanting to collaborate again. I've started to see them as these parallel acts that sort of are meant to bloom separately with very minimal influence on each other. It is the plain acknowledgement that each other exists and they're both pursuing very different paths is more than enough for me, but I really do see them as conflicting parallel forces that don't really have to align specifically anywhere, because their styles are so distinctly different that it almost makes no sense to see them together more than once. Can I just say I'm very happy to live in a world where they both exist? We're very lucky to have them, to be honest. You see, I would not mind if they were to collaborate after Shelter maybe one more time, but I'm perfectly happy the way things are. They're so distinctly different, but in the greatest way. And holy fucking shit was I not ready for Imperium. That song was exhaustingly good. I could not believe the energy it conjured out of me. And how many times in the context of the album did it just bring something very, very, very strong to life? It feels like I cannot have imagined this song being in the dead center of the album being any different. It sets such a complete atmosphere that the album would have suffered immensely without. It really did bring something alive deep inside me, not too different from puberty. After Imperium, the album sort of starts to gradually bring itself down, spending a lot of time in these comfortable pockets, like these comfortable slots of energy. But it never really goes down all the way. And this is where my very minimal problems with this album start to show. I found myself hungry for some kind of emotional payoff, or even for a grand moment that wraps this album up in completion. And this is what I feel like the lead-in from Pixel Empire to Home tried to offer. It kind of did what I feel like it needed from the project, but it didn't have the right amount of decisive punch to actually finish it off. Do you know what I mean? It's a great track and a phenomenal closer. However, it begins to accentuate what I feel like Madeon and his constant desire, well, to remain consistent. And this is where he sets himself apart from Porter, and this is where I begin to understand why I prefer Porter, because I prefer experimentation over consistency, where I'm happy there being a few dull moments if you're going to try new things to sort of inform a new beginning, rather than this constant baseline of good, where a risk could perhaps open up the potential for great. Madeon's stylistic approach values consistency over experiment. And yeah, basically these leads to these really fascinating experiences that often dwell in a very, very uniform realm. And maybe I've made too many comparisons to Porter than most of you would like, but to be honest, as I see them as these both like these parallel individuals existing in this world and producing two types of music that are contrasted heavily with each other, it is really hard not to compare the two, for the fact that they basically, if you hear these projects in context, you can tell that like they have a very solid say on what pop from that year is gonna sound like, right? Except of course you get much higher quality with Madeon and Porter, and so much more consistency and delivery. Yeah, that was the end of my review. And to round this off, I feel a very, very strong 7.5 for this album, where I would give good faith personally around 8, just because of personal preference and all the points that I said. And this album feels like a pretty good beginning. A pretty good beginning point and a very, very solid feeling album. However, like the desire for consistency, I think, sort of takes it back into this uniformity that I'm happy that that really doesn't last into good faith, but it very much is apparent in this album. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and find me on Twitter. I'll be waiting for you. And hopefully we get to do more fun stuff. Please leave comments into what do you think I should review next. And that LP1 by American Football is coming. I promise. But I'm just waiting for the right moment. So please, I'm very, very sorry for that. I hope you're still watching. And thank you very much. See you in the next one.